Hello, Tuesday evening, Dark that opens again, and we are here with a sort of legend, I can say. We are here with onslaught. So, thank you so much for allowing us to have this interview. And I start immediately with a question.
Yes.
So, you have been playing music for more than 30 years as a group now, beginning with your original punk hardcore style. Up to these days, you've changed a lot, musically speaking.
Yes.
Where does this transformation come from, or how it developed?
Okay, well, to be honest, Nige is the best person to answer this question, and he'll be back in a moment. But I think as you listen to different music, it obviously alters the way that you write music. It all started off. The whole thrash thing was basically Motorhead crossed with punk music, and that's that spawned thrash. If there was no Motorhead, there would be no thrash.
Okay.
And as you listen to more artists, as new bands come along, as you improve on your instrument and technology improves around it, it does affect the way that you write music. You
can't change it, actually.
Exactly.
It's normal.
It's a natural progression rather than a forced.
Okay.
Sort of a deliberate sort of change of styles.
Of course. And what changed in you as artist along this progress?
What changed in you as an artist along this process, Nigel?
During those years, it's difficult to say, I think.
Good question.
Because we were talking about music, it changed a lot during the years.
Well, the early years basically was just a natural progression of learning to play your instruments. First album, we could barely play our instruments. Obviously, we're just kids.
Okay.
You haven't honed your songwriting skills or your musicianship skills.
You were still learning.
Yeah. So as you can see, that through the first 3 albums in particular, that we improved greatly over those years.
And which albums do you think that express these changes and this progress the most?
Obviously, the first 3 are the ones with the biggest gaps, if you know what I mean. Well, the biggest progress is obviously between the first 3. I think, in particular, the Force and In Search of Sanity, maybe.
Do you agree?
I would think so, as far as progression, as far as production and songwriting. It is a very different album in that respect. Yeah. So yeah.
Okay. And so, there is an album you like the most, personally.
The latest one for me.
The latest one.
Yeah, 6. Personally, that's mine.
I'm really into the last live album that we put out. Actually, the Live at the Slaughterhouse. Basically, because it was, obviously songs from the new album. From everything really, and you get a chance to reinvent and bring sort of like a modern playing style to some of the older songs as well. So. Some of the songs off the first albums have got a lot more aggression and a bit more speed to them, and I think we pride ourselves in being a good live band. We work hard at being a good live band, and it's nice to get a good recording that almost sort of reflects what the band does in that situation. So for me, I like it because of the energy.
Okay, that's good. And on the contrary, is there an album you think that should have been made differently? Which have some parts you regret, something you say, but something you dislike?
I mean, every album's got that. I guess little bits you like. It's a little bit too long.
No, you shouldn't do that to everyone.
The thing is with an album, is you never ever finish an album. It comes to a point where you have to abandon it. So it's never perfect because there are always things that you can fiddle around with it. So you always look back and say, if we'd done this, if we'd done that, if that maybe because it comes to a point where you've got to leave it alone. You've got to put it out there. You've got to say, okay, that's it. This is finished album.
Yeah. So that is linked to another question I wanted to ask you. How does your albums come to life? I mean, is there someone that writes down lyrics, someone who thinks about the music and so on, or you work together, or everyone actually has a different story for its beginning?
Basically, I write most of the stuff in the last 2 albums I've wrote with Andy Russell-Davis, our ex-guitarist. Most of the stuff is always written at home or in the studio. I don't think or find it writing in the rehearsal rooms a very productive process. You know?
Okay.
It's,
so that
we tend to record every step of every song, every bit, so we can go back. It's always there. If you're 10 minutes down the line in the rehearsal room, you forget something, it's gone. But we've got everything recorded, so we can go back, and you can immediately hear. You can change the drums quickly with programming drums and with demos and stuff. And it's just so simple process.
Okay. And so your lineup changed many times in years. Would you like to talk to us about the present lineup?
I mean,
everything. Yeah.
Present lineup's great. I mean, it's one of the best, especially as Jeff said earlier. We base ourselves on live performance. It's probably one of the best we've had for live shows, which is great. There's lots of energy there. Everybody's so tight and knows what they're doing.
It works.
Yeah, it totally works. Totally works.
And everybody's enjoying themselves on stage, and there's definitely an aura. One of the nicest compliments that we had actually, we just did a gig at the in the Lebanon in Beirut.
Yeah.
And there were people there convinced that we were playing to backing tracks. So basically, we were on stage miming, and that's a great compliment. So we were.
And that is another question. How was it to live the period of silence between 90s and the beginning of century millennium?
How was it? Sorry.
The gap between production, which was the silence actually between 90s. Would you like to talk to us about some?
It wasn't a problem for me actually. I was just glad to leave the band behind at that point. And I got to meet Jeff. Me and Jeff did a project called Power Jenkins, which was great after the Onslaught thing. And we're still thinking of resurrecting it again very soon. It was that good. But apart from that, I was just glad that after the Power Jenkins thing ended, I was just glad to put my guitar away. I wasn't really interested in maybe 10, 12 years.
Okay.
And it was only by a freak that we actually got back together, so the guitar would have still been under the bed.
Okay. You actually considered between the major metal bands worldwide. How do you feel about it? How do you relate to your fans?
How do we relate?
We're just happy that they turn up. It's when you play in different countries and there are people there that know the songs, that know all the words, that are going crazy, that know who you are. It's an absolute honour, it's a privilege. The only reason that we're allowed to do this, to act like 15-year-olds on stage and make complete dicks of ourselves, is the fact that there are people that that come to see the shows, support the band, and let us do that. So you know, the fans are everything.
Okay, it's great.
And any time, you know, when we do shows, we always make a point of trying to get out there afterwards, or maybe before, just to meet as many people as we can. We don't do paid for meet and greets. You know, we just go out there, and if anybody wants anything signed, if anybody wants to talk, anybody wants a beer, then we'll go out there and we'll do that. Because, you know, it's the very, very least we can do, because they're there. You know, if they weren't there, we wouldn't be there.
Okay. And let's get to the last question. So, 3 years have passed from your last album. Is there any news for the future you can tell us? Oh, there is. Okay, that's great.
We're trying. Every week, the record company. When are we getting the new album?
You're hating me right now for the expression.
No. It's just we love touring so much, and the problem is that there's always opportunities for touring, and we never say no. But I think at the end of the year we really need a kind of cut-off point where we can sit down and concentrate on making a new album quickly.
Yeah, but I mean, we've talked about it. Obviously, there are ideas, song titles, imagery, new stage costumes.
Stage costumes? Actually.
No, or are there?
I'm beginning to imagine things right now,
okay.
you know.
Okay. You'll get some ideas off you later and jot them down. They might be better than ours. But yes, so it's tentatively in the works.
Okay. Okay, so that's great news actually to hear.
Thank you.
And then I can say that was totally great. So thank you so much, and we'll see you later on stage.